What's up guys? So Pokemon Unite was finally released last month, and to be honest, it's way more fun than I thought it would be originally, because normally I'm not really that big into MOBAs, and if you have no clue what Pokemon Unite is, the best way that I can describe it is it's basically League of Legends but with Pokemon. And honestly, I could never really get into playing League, and with Smite I only ended up playing it for a few months before I finally ended up dropping it. But anyways, despite how great Pokemon Unite has been for me personally, that isn't really the point of the video. The point of the video is, since Zeraora, Blastoise, Gardevoir, and even Clefable are all going to be DLC Pokemon for the game, I think it's pretty safe to say that we can expect a lot more Pokemon to be implemented in the future. And in this video, I'm going to be covering the 10 Pokemon that I think should definitely be thrown in Pokemon Unite. Now, I'm just going to jump straight into it, so for every Pokemon that I cover, I'm also going to be talking about the reasons why I picked them, the roles that I think that would fit them best, as well as some moves that I would love to see them have. So first up, we are going to kick things off with Victini. Honestly, I'm really hoping that Victini does end up getting included, just because of the fact alone that it is the victory Pokemon. And to me, it just makes sense to have the victory Pokemon in one of the most competitive games that the Pokemon franchise has to offer. So with Victini, I think it would be a pretty good inclusion purely based off of the fact that they would be capable of being the very first mixed attacker, since Victini has the same physical and special attack in the mainline games. So of course that would mean that you would be able to build Victini however you want, with each of its attack slots having an option for a special attack or a physical attack. With that being said, I'm not really too sure how accurate every Pokemon is to their mainline game counterpart, but if they do happen to be fairly accurate, then a physical attack build would probably be the meta for Victini. And for the moveset for Victini, the only move that I am dead set on having is its signature move V-Create, which would probably end up being its Unite move. Now we move on to the second Pokemon that I think should be included, which is going to be Scyther and Scizor. Honestly, given that Scizor is one of the most popular bug types in existence, he should definitely be included. And I think it goes without saying that we should also have a lot more bug and steel type Pokemon included in the game, and honestly, I think Scizor is a fantastic representative for both of those types, especially since he can be an effective attacker with a little bit more bulk on him compared to most. Now for its basic attack, for these two, it should be pretty obvious. It's going to be Fury Cutter, and it will work similarly to Garchomp's basic attack. So for Garchomp, for the 5th hit in a row, the basic attack's speed is increased, and for Scizor, I think it should be changed to the attack power increasing after every single hit, since that is how Fury Cutter works in the mainline games anyways. Now obviously it shouldn't be too much of an increase, because a 300% gain in attack power is a little much, but there should be a significant enough one that you should notice. Some other moves that I would definitely like to see in Scizor's kit are Bullet Punch and U-Turn. Now we move on to the number 3 slot, and originally I was going to choose Alakazam, but I'm not really too sure what this game's policy is when it comes to using mobs as playable characters, since if you weren't aware, in the quick battle map Aroma Park, Abra is a mob, just like Ludicolo, Bouffalant, Corphish, and etc. So since I'm pretty sure that Alakazam isn't a possibility as far as I'm aware for this game, I wanted to go with some other psychic types that I don't think get enough love. And honestly, I'm torn between two of my favorite Gen 5 Pokemon, Musharna and Reuniclus, because they would play somewhat of a similar role to one another since they are both some of the more tanky psychic types. Now, where they would differ is Musharna would probably be more of a supporting Pokemon, playing a similar role to Slowbro, Eldegoss, and Snorlax, filling the role as a complete wall with some status effect capabilities with Hypnosis as one option, and healing capabilities with Moonlight as the other. Switching over to Reuniclus on the other hand would be a defender, but a little bit more on the offensive side with the highest offense stat out of all of the tanks available as of this video. But it would also have the lowest mobility and a little less endurance than the other tanks to balance it out. Some moves that I would also like to see in its arsenal are Recovery and Psychic. Next up is number 4, which is going to be essentially a special attacking version of Garchomp, and the Pokemon filling that role is honestly in a two-way tie. Originally, I wanted to go with Hydreigon because he never gets as much love as as other dragon types in my opinion. But then I thought that Kommo-o would be a way more unique option, given that Kommo-o has a bunch of sound-based moves, as well as Dragapult also having some serious potential to be just as unique. So first off, we'll cover Kommo-o, which of course will be an all-arounder just like Garchomp, more or less sharing the exact same stat spread. So the basic attack for Kommo-o will either be Scale Shot or Uproar. If it is Uproar, I think that it should share the same mechanic as Fury Cutter from the Scizor section of the video. Now for the other moves that Kommo-o can use, I think the best fits would definitely be Clanging Scales and Boom Burst. Clanging Scales having an AoE around it after it's used, similar to Earthquake, and Boom Burst having a cone of damage directly in front of it. Now switching over to Dragapult, again a special attacking all-arounder. The basic attack that I think would be best for Dragapult would be a weaker version of Dragon Breath, and the move that I need to be its Unite move is a busted version of its signature Dragon Darts. Honestly, just the thought of it launching a handful of Dreepy at the opponents around it and them getting absolutely destroyed is a hilarious concept to me. And additional moves that I would like Dragapult to have available are Draco Meteor and Phantom Force. Now, Draco Meteor would work similarly to Talonflame's Brave Bird, having an extremely long range with a sacrifice to your attack power for a few seconds instead of the health. Next up is number 5, which is going to be the Kanto version of Ninetales. Honestly, I want both versions of Ninetales more for variety's sake in terms of moveset, because sure, there are plenty of Pokemon who could easily play the same role as Cantonian Ninetales, but it's one of my favorite Gen 1 Pokemon, so I personally would just love to have both versions of it in the game. Now we are on number 6, which is going to be Conkeldurr, who would be a melee defender. I thought his inclusion would be a really fun choice because of the fact that just looking at him, I think he would be a great alternative to Crustle and Snorlax, and personally it's one of my favorite designs from Gen 5. Now, my concept for Conkeldurr might be a little busted, but he would be the most offensive based tank. Obviously, because I mean, look at him. Anyways, he'd be offering pretty much little to no support or mobility, and he would also have the least endurance of all of the tanks because you can't take as many hits as Snorlax and hit as hard as Machamp. That's just way too busted in my opinion. Some attacks that I would like to see it have are Hammer Arm, which would be a high damaging move that stuns the opponent and has one of the longer cooldowns in the game to make up for its damage output. And the other move in its arsenal would be Smackdown, which would slow down the enemy for a fixed amount of time. Now we move on to number 7, which is Blaziken. Now before I continue, I would also like to have Swampert and Sceptile join as well, but for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to cover them because Sceptile would play pretty much exactly how Venusaur already does, and given that Blastoise is already going to be a water type defender, I don't think that I would do justice for Swampert in this video, especially considering that I have another water type tank that I want to include more because I feel that it is way more unique. So I'm not going to be covering Swampert or Sceptile, but like I said, they definitely should get included at some point. Now, I think it's pretty obvious why Blaziken should be included, because it is one of the most popular Pokemon in existence. So now in Unite, he would probably be a melee speeder, having a similar stat spread to Zeraora. In terms of moves, I need Blaze Kick and High Jump Kick to be included, because Blaze Kick was originally Blaziken's signature move way back in Gen 3, and High Jump Kick will work functionality wise just like Talonflame's Brave Bird, with extremely long range and dealing some recoil damage to Blaziken after being used. Now we move on to number 8, which is the Pokemon that I chose over Swampert, which is Toxapex. Honestly, I'm torn on whether Toxapex should be a defender or supporter, purely because of the fact that my concept for Toxapex is heavily focused on using traps, applying status effects to enemies, and stalling them. And honestly, I don't know which role Toxapex would fit best. Now, honestly, I'm pretty surprised that we haven't had a Pokemon that is trap focused just yet. But when we do end up getting one, I really do hope that it is Toxapex, and like Eldegoss, it will desperately need a partner to be with it at all times, because honestly, it won't have much in terms of attack power, because the moves that I think it should have ideally are initially going to be spikes that can be upgraded upon evolving into either Toxic Spikes or Gunk Shot. Both of them will end up being AoE, AoE attacks. Toxic Spikes will be a damage over time attack with a much larger area of effect, and if an enemy decides to push through the area where Toxic Spikes are, they will obviously continually take damage and poison themselves over and over again until they leave said area. And Gunk Shot will be a very high damaging attack similar to Sludge Bomb. And finally, for the other slot, Toxapex will have access to Baneful Bunker, which will immobilize and protect it for a short amount of time, basically making it invincible, as well as dealing damage to and poisoning whoever ends up attacking Toxapex while Baneful Bunker is in effect. Now we move on to number 9, one of the Pokemon that I want to see the most be included, which is going to be Obstagoon. Now Obstagoon will be a melee all-arounder with some tanking capabilities thrown in. Now at the time of me making this video, all of the all-arounders are Pokemon with a close balance of offense and defense, but none of them have a bit more emphasis on the defensive side. They are all purely offense focused. So with that being said, Obstagoon will be doing just that. One of its moves should definitely be its signature move, Obstruct, which will work pretty much the same way as Snorlax's block, but it will also be pushing back the opponent a tiny bit more than normal, and unlike block, it will also apply a debuff, since in Sword and Shield, the move lowers the defensive stat of the attacking Pokemon. And taking up its other slot should be either Headbutt or Night Slash. Headbutt would have a bit of a knockback, probably about as much as Mr. Mime's Fake Out. And finally, the basic attack will be Fury Swipes, which functionality wise it would be an extremely quick attack with not very much power until you hit the 5th attack where it would get a buff. And now before we get to the final Pokemon that I think should be added, some honorable mentions. The first of which is going to be Milotic, followed by Ampharos, Tyranitar, Exploud, Metagross, Aggron, and honestly there are a lot more like the Pokemon that you're seeing on the screen, but I'm just going to stop here. And now we move on to the final spot, which is going to be the most underrated and underappreciated Sinnoh starter, which is of course Torterra. Now, as I said with the Hoenn starters, I do think that all of the Sinnoh starters should be included as well, especially considering the fact that each and every one of these guys fits a role that is completely unique to the entire current roster of Pokemon Unite. Empoleon fitting the role of a water type all-arounder, Infernape as a close range fire type attacker, but the most unique out of all three of them is definitely going to be Torterra, who has a role that can't be filled by very many Pokemon unlike the other two. Because sure, Abomasnow and Chestnut could fill it as well, but I think that Torterra would fit the role best. Not to mention, Torterra's line doesn't get nearly as much representation in other franchises as it should, because unlike Torterra's line, Snover, Abomasnow, and Chespin have all showed up in franchises like Super Smash Bros. At some point. So Torterra should get its own time to shine. It is a defender, but it will have the most offensive stat out of all of the currently available defenders. The moves that Torterra will have available to it will end up being Wood Hammer and Earthquake. Its moves will also have some of the longest cooldown periods in the game, with Frenzy Plant being its Unite move, since it has a giant tree on its back, so I think it's only fitting. And with that being said, those were the top 10 Pokemon that I think should be included in Unite the most. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below, and while you're down there, also let me know what Pokemon you would like to see in Unite as well. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next video.